Well, it's been a little while, but we are back. I'm here at Mount Parihaka, which is in Whangarei, so back in Northland again. Uh, I did I did intend to record more videos when I was down in Tauranga, but got a little bit busy. So yeah, back in our hometown now, and I've already actually walked all the way through this bush because I'm actually got my camera with me. I've been taking some photos and whatnot of the plants that are here, working on a bit of a project that I'm looking forward to launching at some point. It's going to be a huge undertaking, but we'll get there. Anyways, we're just starting at the summit end and we're walking down to the other, I'm going to go down into the gully and then back up again. So it's going to be a bit of a trek. For half of it I'm going to be pretty puffed trying to make it back up again. It does kind of start off at kind of the top, more scrubby, especially on the other end, which we probably won't get to because my camera or my phone is going to run out of battery before we get there. But the other end is essentially more of this, but there was one extra plant over there that I haven't seen at this end, so I might not get to film it, unfortunately, and that is Dracophyllum something or other. Can't remember, Lysonianum I think it was. I took some photos of it, so I'll put that on the screen for you. But otherwise, up this end at the summit of Parihaka is pretty similar to that other side that I walked down in the first place. We've got lots of this kind of tangle fern here. This is Glycinia. This one might be Glycinia microphylla. I think they're both here. There's microphylla and also dicarpa. And dicarpa has the white undersides and they're kind of curled in on themselves. I'll try and show you that if I find some. I'm pretty sure that one was microphylla. We've got lots of kind of dry, scrubby species here. We've got Pseudolycopodium densum. So this is a club moss. It's pretty cool. What else have we got? Shining Karamu, Coprosma lucida. This here is Coprosma robusta. Pseudopanax arboreus. Meant to be 5-finger, but this one's got more than 5 fingers. Go figure. That seems to be the case. We've got some strobili on our Pseudolycopodium here. So that's how they reproduce. They produce spores that they release from these things. I think these have already released theirs. They're looking a bit dry. This here, it's Dianella nigra. Turutu, I think it's called. And I do need to kind of make a bit of a correction on myself from previous videos where I've been filming Torwai, Pterophila sylvicola. I had read that, I mean, it does look very similar to Maka Maka, Akama rosifolia, and I read that it's apparently you can tell by the stipules, which are much broader in Akama rosifolia. So in the past I have potentially incorrectly identified Torwai, which is that one, with Akama, because it turns out that Torwai also sometimes has particularly broad stipules. Can't find any now to demonstrate, but I'll try and point that out if I do come across it. So I may have incorrectly called Torwai Maka Maka in the past. Anyways, we've got some other plants here. Oleria furfuraceae, this is Acapero. Really broad leaves here, and I'm wondering if it's because there is a bit of hybridization going on with Oleria rani, which is also quite prominent in this bush. I would be interested to look into that because I've never seen them quite that broad before. They almost are giving kind of Oleria rani kind of vibes, I guess. Hangi Hangi, Genostoma Lygostrifolium. We've got Mangi Mangi, which is a fern here. Pretty weird looking fern. It climbs by it's kind of like one individual frond that just continues to grow, and that's how it climbs. And it produces this huge mat as it climbs up things. See if we can find some big stipules. probably can't. Anyway, here's a kind of big one, but I have definitely seen bigger on Torwai. It turns out that the best way to actually tell the difference between Torwai and Makamaka is that Makamaka, which we're not looking at here, has kind of little hairy tuft pocket dermatia at the midrib junction with the veins, and I don't think I've seen that yet, so I don't know, I have to keep my eye out. They're both kind of Northland / Auckland endemics, which doesn't help that they're completely sympatric with one another. Sympatric means that they live in the same location essentially. We do have mountain totara, I think it's called, Podocarpus laetus. Kind of have slightly longer leaves, and they tend to be a lot sharper as well. They're a bit more painful to grab than Podocarpus totara. But the main way to tell the difference is that the leaf bud at the end of the stem looks like a little meatball on a stick, as you can see there. And also the scales on the bud are ovate in shape rather than kind of a lot narrower as they are in Podocarpus totara. What else have we got? Glycinia. Pretty sure this is still just microphylla. Yeah. We'll keep our eye out. We've got a Hebe here. I did see Veronica stricta up the top of the hill, so it's probably another Veronica stricta there. This one's quite cool. This is Toronia toru. It's in the Proteaceae family. So technically closely related to Riwariwa, Natia excelsa. It's a pretty cool one. We're going to be keep this on your mind. This plant here with the reddish, it's kind of got reddish stems there, and long linear leaves, because there's two other plants in this bush that are kind of somewhat similar, and it did throw me off at first when I was first seeing them all together. Especially the seedlings, they're a little bit hard to tell apart at first glance, but with enough time I kind of got my head around it eventually, but it was a bit of a tricky situation. We've got Porokaiferi here, Hidecaria arborea, the pigeonwood, Blechnum or Parablechnum novozelandiae, Kiokio. The key way to tell that it's Kiokio or like novozelandiae is that it's got black scales on the stipe at the base of the frond there. So none of the other, actually there are some other Parablechnums that do have black centered scales, but not ones that look like that. So yeah, let's see. Still probably just microphylla here. The thing with dicarpa is that they're more white underneath. This might actually be, I mean, it's hard because they do hybridize as well, so it's a bit of a tricky situation. We've got Phyllocladus trichomanoides, the tanikaha, another kind of adjacent podocarp, that one. Some people try to put it in its own family, Phyllocladaceae, but others put it in Podocarpaceae, along with things like totara. This one here is dicarpa. You can see that the edges of the leaves kind of wrap underneath, kind of curling around, and it's kind of whitish on the underside. Again, maybe a hybrid. Anyways, got another lycophyte here. So remember we've got Pseudolycopodium densum. This one here is Palinhaya cernua. I probably butchered how you pronounce that, but yeah, go figure. If you say it confidently enough, people will believe that you're saying it correctly. We've got some more Acapero here. This one's more typical width. I did see some further down that were just about oblate in shape, which means that they're wider than they are long, which was quite weird. Yeah, more Palinhaya cernua. Caprosma grandifolia here, large-leaved Caprosma. Keeps on getting changed between grandifolia and autumnalis, but it's currently grandifolia last I checked. Bit of Pteridium esculentum, the bracken. And here we go, another plant in the Glyciniaceae family. This is Sticharis flabellatus, this one. There is also Sticharis cunninghamii on this hill, so you have to be double checking for that. I think flabellatus has longer leaflets on it. I'll try to point out the other one if I see it. There is a lot of this sedge here on this, well, in this bush. I don't know if it's Lepidospermum or Lepidosperma or Scenus. I just don't know my Cyperaceae that well, my sedges. They do evade me a little bit, unfortunately. I should really get better at that. I am trying, but they're not easy. We've got here, this is, I think it's Alciosmia banksii, and it's the linear-folia variant. Got the long leaves. They get quite a lot longer down in the bush next to the other plant that looks very similar. This is one of them, by the way, that kind of gets really long leaves, especially the seedlings, and it kind of looked a little bit like another plant that I'm going to show you shortly when I get to it. Just saw some Myrcene australis back there, red matipo. Yeah, nice. Let's see. There are a few more in this kind of upper region that I want to point out. Here we go, here's one. The adults look quite a bit different. This is Brachyglottis kirkii, and it's the angustifolia variant or subspecies, one or the other. I don't know who really decides whether it's a subspecies or a variant, but yeah. The adults have quite a lot longer leaves, and it starts to look more like the Toronia toru, which is a bit tricky. Yeah, more Sticharis flabellatus there. And this is the Toronia toru, again, red, fresh stem growth, same as the Brachyglottis kirkii, which you can see here. Reddish purple stem growth. These leaves are a bit fleshier though than the Toronia. Got some fruit here as well. Which I don't know if that's like a fresh, must be a young fruit, yeah. Cool. Got some, this is another kind of Northland endemic here. This is Melicytus macrophylla. So it's the large-leaved mahoe. There is also Melicytus ramiflorus further down in the forest. I'll try to point that out to you if I see it. But the main thing that kind of typically distinguishes this is that they are obovate in shape. Make sure to go and watch my video on leaf shapes if you're not sure what that means. But you can kind of just take note of that leaf shape. It's kind of widest nearer the apex of the leaf. So that's Melicytus macrophylla. Whereas Melicytus ramiflorus, the leaves are more of an rectangle shape. There's another one here, another club moss. So I've seen 3 club mosses so far. This is Pseudodephasium volubile, and it does look rather similar to Dephasium scariosum, but Pseudodephasium has little kind of tiny leaves on the upper surface, whereas the other one doesn't. That's kind of the key way to tell the difference there. Especially when it's a young plant like that and you don't see the strobili, which are very different between the two species. Let's see, anything else? And I have actually already pointed out Pseudopanax there, arboreus. Don't need to look at that one again. Got a tiny little one here. That's Gonocarpus incarnis. It's in the Heliragaceae family. There is another plant in New Zealand, I think I pointed it out in previous videos, the Heloragus erecta. Same family as that, but that one's a lot smaller that we just looked at, as you can probably tell. That's it again there. Got lots of the little tall Y seedlings popping up here, the Pterophylla silvicola. Got Leucopogon fasciculatus. Seedlings tend to have kind of much larger leaf growth like this. That's the tall mingy. Leaves get a little bit smaller as they get more mature. It's more of the Pseudodephasium volubile. Remember again, you can see those leaves sticking out on that dorsal surface along that midrib. There's tiny little kind of almost hair-like leaves sticking up. Dephasium scariosum does not have that. We've got Riwariwa, Knightia excelsa, another Proteaceae species, along with the Toronia that we looked at earlier. Okay, we've got another podocarp here. This is Dicradium capretinum, or as most of you will already know, Rimu. I've got another strangest fern that I know of, the kidney fern, Hymenophyllum nephrophyllum. Pretty strange species. We've got Metrosideros perforata here, so it's in the Myrtaceae family, along with Pohudikawa. Alright, so this one here, this is where it starts to throw me off. I'm pretty sure this is Alciosmia banksii, and not Brachyglottis kirkii. But it does get a little bit tricky with the little seedlings here. Actually, the thickness of the leaf is a dead giveaway, so this is Alciosmia. Brachyglottis has much fleshier leaves, whereas Alciosmia, floppy leaves. But they do both still have that reddish stem there, whereas Brachyglottis, it's a bit shinier still though. Yeah. Good fun. Got some young ferns here. Probably a Cyathea of some sort. Not too good at distinguishing them when they're young like that. We've got lots of little, I think they're lancewood, Pseudopanax crassifolius seedlings sprouting up here. A tiny little miniature tree fern. So this is called, well, it's the miniature tree fern. It's Diploblichnum fraseri. You can tell by these kind of spikes that stick out of the stipe. I'll show you a more adult version if I see one later on. But miniature tree fern, it does have kind of like a tiny little trunk to it. It's quite a cute little thing, really. What else have we got? More Myrcena australis. That's a bit weird. Don't have a clue. Maybe Parsonsia? I don't know. Not sure. I'm not going to stop and try to figure that one out right now. I might get back to you when I come across some more stuff. Actually, before I do though, I do get a feeling that there is some hybridization going on with the Alciosmias as well, because it's kind of like, this is almost like a mix between Banksii and Quercifolia, the oak-leaved Alciosmia. And then we've also got here Caprosma spatulata. Sometimes the young Caprosma arborea can look quite similar, but I find that a good way to tell that it's between the two is that spatulata never has kind of that purplish underside to it, and their petioles are more black than they are on arborea. Okay, so we've seen Sticherus flablatus, and now we're looking at Sticherus cunninghamii. So you can see that those ultimate segments to the fronds here are a lot shorter And also the underside is more white if we're not looking at the sori there that are yellow. Let's see if we can find. Yeah, so you can see the white there, so that's Stycheris cunninghamii, whereas Phlogillatus, no white underside, and the terminal leaflets are much longer in Phlogillatus. I've got another fern here. This is Loxoma cunninghamii, not to be confused with Stycheris cunninghamii. Loxoma, in the Loxomataceae family. It's got quite strange sori to it, as you can see there, kind of sticking out in little tubular receptacles. Pretty weird. But yeah, Loxoma cunninghamii. Don't know if that one has a common name. There we go, here's our first Hecatara, Alaria rani here. You can see kind of much flatter leaves than Alaria furfuracea, which is more kind of wavy most of the time, although a lot of the ones here aren't wavy, which again kind of raises suspicions about some hybridization, but also much more prominent teeth along the margin for Alaria rani here. And just a fun fact for if you're wondering what seedlings these are, this is Phyllocladus trichomanoides. So they look like this, and then they kind of morph into that more tanikaha shaped leaf as they get a bit bigger. Yeah, got some more Brachyglottis kirkii here. So I just noticed that the stem is a lot shinier on this one. That's kind of a key thing to keep in mind. And also the reddish margin to the leaf. They don't always have that, but that can be helpful as compared to Toronia toru. No red margin, but sometimes the entire leaves themselves are red, and also the new growth is also a bit red. Leaves seem to be a lot closer together on Toronia than they are on Brachyglottis kirkii as well. There is another one that looks quite similar to this. I haven't seen it here yet, but that's Myrcene salicinea, which its terreo name is also toru, as is this one here. They look very similar. The key difference is that Toronia has a sharp apex to the leaf, whereas Myrcene salicinea is rounded or blunt. So keep that in mind when you're looking at these plants. The apex is a dead giveaway for Myrcene and Toronia, but not so much for the Brachyglottis kirkii. But then you get a little bit more kind of toothed margin on the Brachyglottis, which is somewhat helpful. Though it's not helpful when you come across the Alceosmia. We do have more Brachyglottis here, again fleshier leaves. I'm just going to keep pointing these out. It does get a bit easier to tell which is which eventually. This is the larger or a more kind of adult leaf growth of the Brachyglottis. It gets quite a bit longer, those leaves on there. At this point, pretty easy to distinguish from any other plant, but it's just those seedlings that are quite tricky. Alright, we've got another plant here. This is Quintinia serrata Tartheophil. Pretty funky plant. Can't really mix it up with many things out there, to be honest. Yeah, pretty cool. Here's a larger Brachyglottis kirkii for you. Main difference is that, Toronia toru, all the leaves are kind of at that terminal section of the stem, rather than all the way down in this species. So again, here's Toronia toru, leaves kind of at the terminal sections, but not further down. We have some big Kori trees here as well. Agathis australis. Hey, we're getting into the more kind of wetter, humid part of the walk now. And starting off, we've got a few more species here. We've got Schefflera digitata. Fun thing with the juveniles, they have this kind of lobed leaflet to them. You can see some more down there. You don't see that in Pseudopanax at all, but you do see it in Rokawa, which is another genus within the Araliaceae family. Got some kohi, Pidimachetum spectabilis, Nico, Rapalis talis. What else have we got? I did see a Taradi somewhere. I think it was a seedling. Yeah, Taradi seedling, Belschmidtia taradi. Very cool. Moriwariwa, a Piper excelsum there, the Kawakawa. Here's some more of the Olearia rani here. Yep, neat. I think I already pointed that one out actually. There's a classic Alsophila tricolour, the silver fern or punga. I think that's another Loxoma seedling. No sori at this point, so just have to take my word for it, I guess. We've got some slightly bigger Diploblicnum, the miniature tree fern. This one's not quite got a trunk yet. Hopefully we'll find some bigger ones at some point. A little bit of a trunk starting on this one. It's kind of a sideways pointing one, but we're getting there. It usually is a vertical trunk. Another fern, Lindsaya trichomanoides. Okay, we've got another rata here. So this is Metrosideros fulgens, one of the more large-leaved climbing ratas. Fulgens that has kind of crisscrossing leaf arrangement. So they're in pairs, but they kind of rotate 90 degrees at each node. It's kind of a key way to tell that species apart from the other ratas. We do have a better trunk on this miniature tree fern here, Diploblicnum fraseri. Got a mero seedling, Pictanopides ferruginea. I do try get the pronunciation correctly on the Tereo words, but it kind of just slips out sometimes where I forget to roll my R's or something. I try my best, and I know I do get roasted sometimes for saying it incorrectly, so I do apologize, but I'm trying. It's a Kia, I think that's how you're meant to pronounce it. That was one of the ones I got roasted for in a previous video, because I said Kiki, but I think it's Kia. Freycinedia banksii. More Metrosideros fulgens there. Another Tartheophile with the wavy leaves. Okay, so here's the really wide Olearia furfuraceae that I came across. Never seen them like this before. Super weird, but I can't think of it being anything else. I mean, definitely Olearia, but I can't think of any other species that would fit the description other than furfuraceae, so that's what I'm going with. If you know any better, please let me know. But yeah, kind of gets to the point we have pointed out most of the species, and then it's a bit of a stop-start at that point, where you kind of stop recording and then point out the next one. I don't know, I just noticed some mosses here. I don't know moss at all. I should try to learn a few of the common ones, but we'll get there eventually. Okay, so here's what I was talking about with the Coprosma spathulata compared to Coprosma arborea. At first glance, you'd probably think that this is Coprosma spathulata, same shaped leaf, but turn it over, and you got that kind of orangey pink underside to it. And as the plant gets a bit bigger, you start to get those bigger leaves on it. No actual adult leaves on this just yet. They do get quite a bit bigger than this even still. But yeah, just keep that in mind. This one is Coprosma arborea, but can be mistaken for spathulata. This one here, I wonder if that's Mida silicofolia. It looks like it might be. Haven't seen seedlings before, so I'm not too sure. There is an adult Mida silicofolia further down in the gully, so I'll point that out to you when I get there, as long as my phone doesn't run out of battery before then. Otherwise, it may require a part 2 for Parihaka. Another thing to point out with Alciosmia is that they tend to have, or they can have, more red splotchy leaves compared to other species that may look quite similar. That's usually quite a good giveaway, is those red splotches on the leaves. Okay, I've got a few more species just right here. So we've got Parihaka pinigera, the lime fern. It does get quite a bit bigger than this. This is just a young one. Got Coprosma rhamnoides seedling here. The twiggy Coprosma. Parihaka Chronocarpus levigatus. I think that's another Coprosma arborea actually. Looks like spathulata. That's a loquat. That's a weed. That's no good. There's another one there actually. Don't know the scientific name for that one. And that's all for now. I suppose here's a bigger lime fern, the Parihaka pinigera. Yeah, another silver fern. Nice and easy way to tell from the base is these silver stipes here. It's not just the underside of the leaves that are silver, but also the stipe itself as well. Especially when it's a big tree fern, because looking upwards, it doesn't look white, but the stipe themselves still does. So that's quite handy to keep in mind. Okay, so as I was saying with the silver fern, you can't really tell that is silver on the underside, but the stipes, you can definitely see that that's a silver stipe. So it's quite handy when it's a big tree fern like that. We've also got Ripogonum scandens here, the supplejack. And over here, we've got Nephera dichondrifolia. It's in the Rubiaceae family alongside Coprosmas. And you may know that Coprosma, you can eat the berries. You can do the same with Nephera. I'll let you know if it tastes any good. Tastes like nothing, like a little pea. We've got here Abrodiictium elongatum. On the underside, they've got these elongated receptacles, as you can see. So, yeah, I think it's in the Hymenophyllaceae family still, but a little bit of a strange fern, really, as you can see with those long protruding receptacles there. What else have I seen here? We've got Castalia trinerva, or trinervia here, the Cody grass. Can't get any closer to it, but you'll have to trust me that it's trinervia. It's got 3 nerves either side of the midrib, and that's kind of how you tell that it's that. Now we do have a clematis growing there. It's pretty cool. Couldn't tell you which one it is just from the leaves. I mean, I know that Clematis cunninghamii grows around these areas, so it could be that one. They tend to be more kind of forest species compared to paniculata, which I usually see in more kind of open locations. More of that Notera there, Notera dichondrifolia. And some Garnia, good old sedges that I know nothing about. I'm trying. It's going to be a while before I can tell you about all the sedges in the bush. Yeah, that's probably about it. I'll get back to you when I see something else. Okay, last few plants kind of in the bush, because I'm about to head back up into the kind of fernland, scrubland area. We've got Dicksonia squarosa, a rough tree fern, and then growing on this tree fern trunk, which is a pretty good place for epiphytes to grow. You can even see we've got some torwai trying to grow here, but we've got some ferns as well. So we've got Mesipterus lanceolata, this one. You can tell because it's got this distechous leaf arrangement along the kind of terminal length of the stem, and then basally it has the little synangia there. That's pretty typical of Mesipterus lanceolata compared to the other species of Mesipterus. Yeah, pretty cool. We've also got Asplenium flaccidum here, the drooping spleenwort. Yeah, pretty cool. And yeah, off we go up into the fernland once again. I think I've already pointed out most of the species that we are going to see, so this might actually end up being the end of the video here. So I might just wrap it up. We do have a Spheropterus medullaris there, the mamaku black tree fern. As you can tell, black stipes, great big arching leaves. And yeah, anyways, that's all. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one. Okay, as promised, we're out in a bit of a windy area now, but here's the Dracophyllum that I was talking about. I cannot remember. Sorry, I'm really puffed. I just went up a really big flight of stairs. Anyways, here's the flowers on it. Little pink flowers. Dracophyllum something or other. It starts with an L. That's all I can remember right now. Yeah, pretty cool. I just spotted another thing down here sprouting up. That's Pomaderus amoena, or Tauhino. Pretty cool. Neat. Alright, see you later. Okay, well if you're still here, clearly you are quite into your plants, so I've got something a little bit more technical to talk about now. So we've got here Dianella, what I would describe as Dianella nigra, probably. However, Dianella nigra, the leaves are only meant to get to 80 centimeters tall. However, I'm standing beside this plant within this thicket of tangle fern, and this the leaves are the same height as me, and I am 180 something centimeters, so that's a meter longer than Dianella nigra is supposed to get. It can't be Dianella latissima, because Dianella latissima has droopy leaves, whereas these ones are quite erect, sticking up. The only other one that leaves is Dianella hematica, which has erect red rhizomes, and I don't see any of that either on this plant. Yeah, we've got a horizontal rhizome coming out of that. So I don't know if that means that this is a different species. or if Dinella nigra needs to be redescribed a little bit to have longer leaves. Not too sure, but yeah, interesting thought.